James Cameron is a mad genius, and that means things often get out of hand on his sets. From living in an actual rainforest to nearly building the Titanic, here are some wild behind-the-scenes tales courtesy of James Cameron, starting with his own personal voyage, visiting the Titanic. You'd think Cameron made his 1998 Oscars-winning movie to pay his respects to the tragedy's victims. Wrong-o. It wasn't as noble. In fact, the decision to make Titanic was due to the director's diving obsession. Wait, what? Yep, apparently he only made the film because he wanted an all-expense-paid visit to the shipwreck. And here we thought the Titanic was an honorable tribute. So how did he manage to convince 20th Century Fox? Well, he roped them in by promising to save money. Rather than building elaborate models or spending money on CGI, they can just visit the real deal. And to the studios, it was a golden opportunity for publicity. Who wouldn't want that? That's how James set sail to visit the cruise ship and experience the dive of his dreams. Not to mention some insane underwater shots for the movie. And it didn't end there. Oh no. Turns out the genius filmmaker wasn't really satisfied with just the shots, so he took things into his own hands. By doing what? By replicating the entire Titanic ship. The actual footage was great for the ship's exterior design, but for the insides they needed a cruise set model, and for that James initially decided to build a perfect replica. That would have been such a legendary move. But here's the problem with it. The director discovered the only way they could make it was to create an actual floatable ship. And when that iceberg scene comes, they'll only have one take. That's it. Once the colossal boat was sunk, all the millions poured into it would have sunk too, and doing that entire thing for one take didn't make the most amount of sense. So they compromised by building near-perfect room imitations, and for that they brought the dusty RMS Titanic blueprints. Finally, a sprinkle of CGI, a miniature vessel, and other practical effects later, we had that epic sinking scene that didn't destroy an entire ship. Of course, the actors still had to take a dip in the massive pool because James loves them, but you could tell that he has a thing for water bodies even before the Titanic. Building the world's largest freshwater pool. No, surprisingly, this one isn't for the 1998 film. In fact, the director made the pool almost a decade before Titanic. It was for The Abyss in 1986. This underrated gem from his portfolio was a sci-fi flick facing an alien aquatic species. So the Na'vi weren't his first blue aliens either.
You know, I think when we had to actually live it out and make it work, make it happen, it was a lot more difficult than we thought it was going to be. Because, you know, my biggest problem is that I can sort of make the cognitive leap to what the end picture will look like.
The most consistently enthralling of the summer blockbusters, one of the best pictures of the year. It's also something even more unexpected.
Back to the pool. It was made of 2 megatanks that could hold 10 million gallons of water. Hear this, one of them was 210 feet in width and 6 stories deep. Now that's screaming thalassophobia for many. That also made it the largest freshwater pool on the planet. Really gotta hand it to the cast who shot scenes in it. But he didn't stop at the plunging depths, he had to do crazy stuff in the sky too. His multiple crazy helicopter stunts. Cameron's water scenes have nothing on his hyper-realistic heli efforts. For starters, Terminator 2 Judgment Day required a T-1000 helicopter to fly under an overpass. Now, when you have CGI, you don't really have to do it, right? Not for this Canadian filmmaker. He wanted the real thing, no matter how dangerous it was.
You see this helicopter going under a freeway overpass?
Yeah.
That's a helicopter going under a freeway overpass. The crew...
That was real?
The camera crew said, we won't shoot that. So I said, okay, fine, I'll shoot it myself. And it was just me and the insert car driver following the helicopter through there.
We kid you not, it was such a risky move, even the camera crew refused to shoot it. Then what? Well, the visionary director was like, okay, fine, I'll do it myself. Major boss move. So he did, and it turned out pretty fly. And of course, he had to repeat something like that. You just can't get enough of the thrills, can you, James? For Arnold Schwarzenegger's True Lies, they needed a flying Harrier jet. So he mounted a jet replica over a skyscraper, and a nearby under-construction building became their camera stand. But what's one thing he didn't take into account? Lightning. A fiberglass model that high, Mother Nature's bolt of fury had to strike their jet rig. Thank God it was during a lunch break. Problem, not for the award-winning legend. Once again, he opted for a crazy alternative to dangle the jet from the 30-story building's side. And again, the camera crew chickened out. James then flew the camera-mounted helicopter himself just to get that perfect shot. We don't call him Mr. Perfectionist for nothing. And get this, he doesn't even have patience for bathroom breaks delaying shooting. Now that can only result in one thing: actors peeing in the water tank. You know that feeling when when you see water and it makes you want to pee more urgently? Well, imagine how the cast felt filming in a pool for days. And Cameron created a major fuss for people wasting time to relieve themselves. Stories of him nearly firing someone for heading to the toilet have often landed on the net too. Poor Arnold was really worried about the firing threats. He painfully endured a long filming inside that Harrier jet when all he wanted was to take a leak. So for many of the Titanic cast and extras, it just meant letting go in the water. And yes, even Kate and Leo. Both of them have confessed that in interviews they're only human. Winslet even said she'll need a massive paycheck to work with Iron Jim again. And it looks like she got it because she reunited with the acclaimed director in Avatar 2. But the accidents at the filmmaker's sets aren't as innocent as peeing. People also get physically hurt sometimes. When the Abyss cast suffered from chemical burns. While the large water tanks were really impressive, you had to keep them germ-free. And what's the poison for swimming pools? Chlorine. Now imagine how much chlorine they needed for millions of gallons of water. Turns out too much for the actors dipping in it for long shoots. The chlorine levels were so excessive, many people suffered from painful chemical burns on their skin.
But I think I also learned a lot about where the audience places its interest. And the scene where he brings her back to life and wills her back to life was so important. It was really hard for the movie to peak again to that level. And I think the ending wasn't as emotional as it should have been. But fortunately, I don't think Titanic would have worked as well as it did if I hadn't made The Abyss and learned that lesson.
Even their hair turned white and green. Guess that matched the movie's sci-fi theme. Jokes aside, the situation was really bad. Thankfully, Vaseline became their magic potion. They literally slathered themselves in it to prevent chlorine damage. And now for the Abyss cast, it was a fight against the chlorinated water. Avatar 2 folks had to battle tropical creepy crawlies, living in the rainforest for Avatar: The Way of Water. We know the super hyped sequel was all about that tropical life, and what better way to get a feel of it than the rainforest. That's what Cameron told his people: pack your bags, we're going to the jungle. Be honest, James, was this again your personal paid vacation? In a promotional appearance for the film, he revealed they went to the Hawaiian island of Kauai for several days. The director called it a sense memory odyssey. They totally adopted the wildlife there by cooking in the underground fire pits and drinking water from leaves.
We're not using photography. We're using performance capture. So there is no world that I can show the actors other than having them come over and look at the monitor and see the results of my virtual camera pass.
But that wasn't the point. It was to immerse in the experience and observe as much as they could. All the smells, sounds, feelings, and walking steep forest paths helped the cast imagine themselves in Pandora's wild side. Some cast members even took advantage of that trip with real underwater dives. But let's be honest, knowing the strict filmmaker, it wasn't all rainbows and sunshine. As dreamy as the trip sounds, Iron Jim would have totally made them work for it. This strict protocol and endless hard work is exactly why James Cameron counts as one of the best directors of all time. And that, folks, is a wrap on James Cameron's crazy behind-the-scenes stories, and we'll see you in the next video.